Way of thinking. What is the meaning of thinking? Firstly, we have to understand the point thinking means. Most of us, we know that something which makes us different from the animals, something which makes us like a unique from other creatures, we say, most of us, we say that thinking, like imagining something, knowing something well, we say this. But I don't think this is the only thing which makes us different from other creatures. But let us say just the meaning of thinking means. What is thinking means? How do we define it? So thinking means the process of considering or reasoning about something. Thinking, like considering it, like reasoning it. Why, when, how, what, where. It is the process of considering and reasoning why. And it is kind of using thought or rational judgment. It's not just like normally, it's just by using thought or rational judgment, like intelligence, something like this. We can define way of thinking like this. But the another way of explaining the word thinking is, it means that knowing where you were at the past, which is where you came from, and knowing where you are now, which is at the present, where you are now, right now, and where you are going, which is in the future, where you are going, where you were, where you are, and where you are going. So we can define like this the way of thinking. So let's see now the realities about thinking. What is the realities? There are many realities about thinking. So some of them we will see now. Firstly, everyone has know the same idea. This is the reality of about thinking. I have another idea, you have another idea, which is another way of thinking. So this is the first reality. We all have different way of thinking, different idea. That is why we meet together. That is why we discuss on some issues. The second reality of thinking is the person who has knowledge can think, understand, and consider more. Okay, so if you have a knowledge, and if you understand something, and if you consider it, you can think more than the person who has no knowledge, who can't think, who can't understand things and consider things. We can, or that man can understand more than that person, the person who has no knowledge. The third is our way of thinking makes us different from others. This is the only, which is the most thing which makes us different, not just from the animals, not just from the any other creatures, but our way of thinking can also make us between just among just the creatures like human beings. I think another thing, you think another thing. So this is the realities of thinking. So let's talk again about something. So when we say about thinking like this, how to correct the negative thinking, how to correct the negative thinking. So to come to the same agenda, to come to the same point, we have to correct the negative thinking of other people. We have to correct the thinking. So what we have to do to correct that way of thinking, firstly, we have to respect the idea of other person. For example, 6 plus 3 is 9. but so does 5 plus 4. The way you do things isn't always the only way to do them. Respect other people's way of thinking. 6 plus 3 is 9. 5 plus 4 is also 9. Because when I say only my way is correct, I'm not respecting other person's idea. So to correct them, even if they are wrong, to correct them, I have to respect. We have to respect their idea, their way of view. Second, to correct, what to do. Know the point very well. The point that you are going to correct it, you have to know that point very well. You have to know it in detail. You have to understand it deeply. First, if you understand it, you can teach others. As in saying, he who learns teaches. So you have to learn it deeply, know it deeply, understand it deeply. Then after you can teach, you can correct other people's thought. Another is telling or showing the evidences. Not just if you say something, no one can take that from you. There is in Arabic quote, ولولا الدليل لقال من شاء ما شاء. If there was no any evidence, anyone can say anything. Like anyone can say anything. So I may say something. If you don't believe me, it's about you. But if there is no evidence, there is nothing. So why we say that? If there was no evidence, anyone can say anything. We don't care. They don't care whether it is true or not true. So to identify things, to correct other people's thoughts, to tell, to teach, we have to have evidences with ourselves. So another is the way of correcting other people's idea or way of view, explaining with example. We have to explain them. For example, like giving them example. For example, if you take this, if you take that, we have to explain it for them with the example. So these are the most useful ways of correcting other people's way of thinking. So inshallah, see you by next lecture. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.